Hello and welcome back to our second deep dive on No Man's Sky's logic. First of all, thank you for all the feedback. We had a great discussion on the Reddit. What you see here is our AND gate I showed you on the last video. Based on the feedback I got on the Reddit, I've created a new AND gate, which you see here. In this AND gate, we will you can have as many inputs as you want, and you will have an output after one tick in every case. So if I change this input here, we will have an output after one tick, and if I change another input, we will have the output change after one tick as well. This is different to this gate. Here you would have different time spans when you get the output, and so it's you have inconsistent outputs, and that's not very good because you run into timing issues and so in later situations. So I recommend you use this type of AND gate. This gate has another advantage. If you need the opposite of an input, you can just switch this automatic switch, for example, for an inverter, and you will have the opposite of that input in your logic. And as well, if you change all of the automatic switches for inverters, this AND gate will become a NOR gate. So that's quite neat, so I just thought to show you that. The same is with our OR gate. Here you see the old version of it, where we have our two inputs and the wires are connected together into a single automatic switch. In our new version, each input gets its own automatic switch, and then after that these outputs are connected to our final output of the gate. Here again, if you need the opposite of an input, you can just change the automatic switch for an inverter and will get a NOT before the input into the gate. And if you change all three of these switches for an inverter, you will get a NAND gate. So just to memorize, here we have an AND gate, and with all inverters here you will have a NOR gate, and here we have an OR gate, and with all inverters here we will have a NAND gate. On Reddit I saw some people talking about the signal coming from the button being too short, and there's an easy way to stretch the signal, which is shown here. When we press this button, the signal will enter the first switch, then on the next tick it will activate this switch as well as this switch. So 2 ticks later we will have an active current here coming from this switch, while this switch is open, and we will have a current here as well opening this switch on the next tick, and therefore on the third tick we will have a current here again, but this time coming from this side here and not from this side here. So we can see if I activate here, you see 1 second here and a 2-second signal here on the side. This can come in handy when you just need a longer signal for your logic, but you just want to have one single signal. If you want to use a slower clock signal in your circuits, you can use this system here. We used the same trick we used over there. In this case, the signal is giving into this switch. 1 tick later, we will have this wire active opening this switch, and another tick later this switch is open. Therefore, the whole clock circle will become slower because it takes more time after we have an output here to also have an output on this wire that will then close the switch again. So now that I've shown you those three little techniques, let's get a bit more complicated. Don't worry, this one is easier than it looks, and I'll show you everything. Let's start with the left half of it. This part is called a multiplexer. It has 4 inputs, it has 2 control inputs, and it has a single output. What it does is the 2 inputs select the 2 control inputs, select one of the 4 regular inputs and route this one through to the output. So in this case, both input switches both control input switches are closed, so the first regular input is open, because so here this input keeps this inverter open, and this input keeps this inverter open. In all other cases, in this row, this switch here is closed, in this row this switch is closed, and in this row both switches are closed. So only the upper signal can go through to the output. If I show you a different one, this one here, you see it cannot go through. It's still the output is still off. And if I activate this control input, this signal will open this switch. This inverter is already open, so this path is free for to go to the output. This building block is used in technology to, for example, if you have large memory at some point, you can access this memory, and you choose which bit of the memory you wanna have at a certain moment. So you can give it a yeah, you can with these control inputs, you can basically access an address. But you can also have different logic on these sides. So maybe here is something that adds something, here is something that subtracts something, or here you may have some reset logic or something, and you can use this demultiplexer to send the logic you want to use to your output. Or the other way around, if you have some input data, you can choose some input data with the multiplexer, send it to some logic in the middle, and then send it back via the demultiplexer. That's what this half is about. And for this, we have in the demultiplexer we have again 2 control inputs, which in most cases will have the same data as these control inputs. So it would be like this, and it will get from the one input it has, it will select the correct path to send the input to your output. And yeah, so that's what it does. You could as well send use different control inputs. For example, if you use it this way, you can see that the upper path is open, so our input here is sent on this upper path to the upper output. Yeah, that's basically what how these work. The way I've built them, I started to build these two first. Have done four rows. Each time I changed which switch I used, so that I would have all four combinations. Usually I go alternating here on the right one, so we have inverter switch, and then I have alternating each second step, so we have 2 times inverter, 2 times automatic switch, so then we have all possibilities. Then on the left I have my 4 inputs, on the top I have my 2 control inputs, and then for the wiring I first choose this wire to connect to this control input, and then I will connect each control input to the control input below. So that way all 4 control inputs are connected with the control input on the top, and it's quite easy to see what happens within this building block. And yeah, and the same thing happens on the other side, of course. I've put some switches here again, just so we don't have backward propagation in case we open this, just to show you for a moment. If our input is off and we want to have a 0 here, and for some reason we get some backward propagation, we don't want to get this backward propagation all the way through here. Therefore I have put these 4 gates here. Yeah, so just to protect against that. The next circuit I show you here is used to store information within your circuits. So this one consists of 2 AND gates, one you see up here, the other one below here, and 2 NOR gates, which is the one is here and the other is here. And the special property of this circuit is that the output of one NOR gate is connected to an input of the other NOR gate. So they interfere with each other, and whenever you set one of the NOR gates to be open, you will automatically set the other NOR gate to be closed. And we have on the left side we have 3 inputs. One is a so-called set input, the other is a reset input, and the third one is our clock signal. So whenever the clock signal is 0 or is off, we can open one of our inputs. Like now, this is the set input, and the set input will now change our output to be 1 here and 0 up here. We can also, when we reset this to 0, so as long as we have both of these inputs 0, the value that is stored here will not change. And this is how we store information in electric circuits. And as soon as we switch this one on, you will see that this will switch on and these 2 will toggle. And if I bring it close it back, we can see that the value within the circuit won't change. The terminology for this gate is called a gated Rs latch. Gated because we have these AND gates here, and we can, if we have no inputs, no clock signal, we can do whatever we want here. we will not have any change of the value here. As long there's no input and no clock signal input, we will not have any change. However, as soon as we have a clock signal input, like I'll show you right now, the signal, the value will change. So only allowing a value to change at the moment when you get the clock signal is the gate. So when we have a clock signal, our gate is open. It's open to change the value of our latch, and as long there's no signal, we can change our input values as we want, as much as we want. It won't change any value here. This is how this works. It's very easy to construct. You just need to remember you have AND gate, NOR gate, AND gate, NOR gate, and connect the output of one NOR gate to the input of the other gate. Our next circuit is called a half adder. The idea is to use two inputs as binary digits and add them together to a two-digit binary number. In this case, this is the less significant bit, and this is the higher significant bit. We also call this one the sum bit and this one the carry bit, because this output could be transferred to another adder and added to another number to get an even longer binary number. So it's a number that you carry over to the next higher significant bit. The way it works is you have a XOR gate down here, and you have a AND gate up here. So if both of the inputs are 1, you get a 1 at the carry bit, and if the the inputs are different, our XOR gate here will output a 1 for the sum bit. So that's basically all how this one works, and now we can use this one for a larger adder, like I have built over here. You can see here you have an XOR gate again and another AND gate, so this is a half adder, and here you have an XOR gate and an AND gate, so this also is an half adder, and up here you have an OR gate. But this time we have 3 inputs. So these 2 inputs will go into the first half adder. If they are the same, it will output a carry bit over here, and the output of this XOR gate and our carry input, so this could have been this carry bit here that goes here now, and so this carry input and the output of this XOR gate are the inputs of the next half adder. And so we have the same half adder logic here. If we have an odd number of active inputs here, we'll have a 1 at the sum bit, which says that the sum of our number is odd. And if we have at least 2 active inputs, we'll have an active number, have an active output on our carry bit here. So I can show you this, the 3 inputs for a moment. Here you see that both outputs are 1, so this represents a 3 in binary, and if we remove any of them, the logic will just take some time, and then now we have a 2 as an output. And if we remove another input here, then the carry bit will go off, because we only have one input here that's on, only, so we have 1 plus 0 plus 0, so the result should be 1, so the carry bit is 0 and our sum bit is 1. And so what it does, we have our we have our half bit here. The carry bit here is compared. So our carry out will have will be lit either when both of our main inputs here, or binary inputs here, are 1. So we have we sum them together to a 2, so we will have a carry out a 1 at our carry output. Or if these two are different and our third input is 1, so when the first two are different, our XOR here will output a 1. When we have a 1 here as well, this AND gate up here will have a 1, and in that case this one will go into our OR gate here and light up the carry bit. And for our sum bit, when there's only, let's start with this one here, when we have only one bit active, this XOR gate will have a different input for its two inputs. Therefore, it will output a 1. This one will then go into the next XOR gate, because our carry input is a 0 at this moment. We have different input in this XOR gate as well, and so we'll have a 1 at our sum bit. Now when we add this bit here, this XOR gate changes, because we have two 1 inputs on the XOR gate, therefore the XOR will output a 0. And if we add another one here, the logic changes again. Now this XOR gate has two equal inputs, so its output will be 0. This leads to this XOR gate. Now the inputs are different again, and therefore the XOR gate will have a 1 again. So, and this is the concept of this that I want to show you is the modularity that we have in computer technology. At first, in the last episode, I showed you how AND gates work, how XOR gates work, and in this episode we used XOR gates to build something, the different gates to build something bigger. So we have our XOR gate and our AND gate to build a half adder. And now the next step is that we take our half adders and combine them to have a full adder. And the next, in computer technology, the next step would be to take the full adder to create full arithmetic logic units or whatever you want. So you have some bigger constructions, always built out of smaller blocks you've understand. And once you've understood one kind of block, you will be able to use this kind of block to build even bigger things. And if you keep this kind of structure of modularity of your building blocks, you won't run into problems with making a mess and don't know what you did a week before or so. Yeah, so that's about it for today. I hope you liked this. I've run into some building block limits here when I've built this big part here. There seems to be some short range building limit. I don't know the number yet. Maybe someone else already knows it. But you don't need to try to build your constructions too compact, because you'll run into those limits anyway. So just keep it simple to read for the eye, and then you should be good with the limits and with yeah, with keeping knowing what you do and what you did last week. Yeah, so that's about it. I hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions, I'm always glad to answer them. Also you can go to the No Man's Sky Reddit, where I post a thread where you will also find this tutorial as a image-based tutorial, so you can read again later and don't have to watch the video again. So yeah, until next time, see ya.